So welcome to our Where Do I Start series, our new Where Do I Start series. My name is Jim Schultz, and I'm going to be your tour guide for the duration of this series. And I'm super excited to get this thing underway because I know that there are a lot of traders, a lot of budding traders out there that maybe you have some experience in the stock market with investing, long-term, whatever, but you want to take a more active role in the market. So maybe you have no experience whatsoever, but you want to get going, but you're completely overwhelmed. You're like, man, I have no idea where to begin. Like, it's information overload, especially with AI and all these things. I mean, the information is at our fingertips. Like, it's all there. A lot of it's pretty much free to access pretty much whenever we want to, but you don't know where to begin. And you feel super overwhelmed. So I want this series to be something that will take you from nothing to novice trader. Like, I want to take you from not really knowing anything about the markets whatsoever to getting to a spot where you feel comfortable trading as a self-sufficient trader. Like, you understand the strategies, you know what you're trying to accomplish, you're clear on what you're signing up for, all these different things. And so I am going to assume that you have little to no understanding of the financial markets as we move through this series. Now, you might have a little bit of understanding around the stock market, and that would be good. That's going to help you. But if you don't know anything, then I'm going to help you kind of start your journey to become an active trader. Now, my objective and my goal is I'm not going to cover every last detail about every last little nook and cranny that there is about like indexes and stock market investing and this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to give you what you need to move on to the next step. I'm going to be as complete as I possibly can and as I feel like we need to, but I'm not going to just go over things just for the sake of going over things. So before I joined the Tasty Network, I was actually a finance professor. So I taught undergraduate and graduate level classes at a small university in South Carolina. And I loved my time there. Like, it was such a special time in my professional life. But I had a unique opportunity to every semester, like every 3, 4, 5 months, whatever it was, I had a brand new group of students and they didn't know anything. Like a total blank slate. They knew nothing. And so I had to take them from that blank slate to understanding whatever the topic was for that semester, whether it was finance, whether it was investments, derivatives, whatever it was. We took them from nothing to understanding that subject matter. So my approach for this series is going to be exactly the same. I'm going to assume that you are very much a blank slate, and let's begin to fill in that blank slate with the information that you need to become an active trader. Okay, so let's begin all the way back at square one, like literally home base. What is a stock? Well, when you buy stock in a company, you become a part owner of that company and you have a claim on the profits that that company generates. And so you are now in line for the profits that the company generates. And you are largely kind of first in line when it comes to any excess profits that the company does indeed generate. Now, they have to satisfy their other stakeholders like their employees and their expenses and taxes and things of that nature. But then when there's any excess profits left over, like, you are in line for that. Now, remember, being in the classroom, like, a company's number one objective, I taught this to my students for so many years. A company's number one objective is to maximize shareholder wealth. Now, there may be a lot of problems with that, a lot of societal difficulties with that, and that's a separate discussion for another time for sure. But that is quite literally what the managers are in place to do to maximize shareholder wealth. So if you invest in a company, then the managers are going to be doing all that they can do to maximize your wealth as a shareholder. So understand that when you buy stock in a company, you are part owner. Like, you now have a claim on the profits that the company does indeed generate. Now, generally speaking, there are two different ways that you could invest in the stock market. You could invest in individual stocks, or you could invest in market indexes. Now, there's a lot of similarities between these two. There are some key differences, but these are going to be the two primary ways that you could start as a stock investor. So let's begin by taking a look at individual stocks. And I would say, just in my personal and professional opinion, this is where I think most investors actually start their journey. They start by investing in an individual stock. So this could be Apple, this could be Amazon, this could be McDonald's, this could be AMD, this could be Tesla, this could be whatever else. You make money on that individual stock investment two different ways. These are really the only two ways that you can make money on any stock investment. You're going to make money through dividends, or you're going to make money through the stock price increasing. Now, what is a dividend? Not every company pays dividends. Only some companies pay dividends. That's certainly a separate discussion for another time. But if the company does pay a dividend, then what that means is just for being a shareholder, you don't have to do anything. There are no strings attached. Like it's just a check that shows up in your mailbox, in your bank account these days through electronic transfer, or maybe your AI agent goes and collects the checks for you. It's going to be a cash payment that's made to you simply for being a shareholder. That's it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to earn it. It's just for being part of the team. The company's essentially saying, hey, here's 37 cents. Thanks for being a part of what we're doing. Like, hey, here's 94 cents. Don't spend it all in one place. Thanks for being a part of the team. That's what a dividend payment is. Now, I joke about it just being a little kind of piddly amount, and oftentimes it is, but that's on a per share basis. So once you begin to kind of stockpile shares in a position and you begin to build, you have 100 shares, you have 200 shares, you have 1,000 shares in a given company, whatever, like the dividend checks can become significant amounts of money over time for sure. But the other way that you make money as an individual stock investor is, of course, if the share price goes up. Like if the stock price increases from where you bought it, then that, of course, is profit for you. If I bought stock in Apple at $200 a share and now it's $300 a share, like that's obviously good for me and I'm making money. If I bought stock in McDonald's at $300 per share and now it's $330 per share, that is good. I'm going to be making money on that position. So dividend payments and share price increases are really the only two ways that you can make money as a stock investor. Now, here's the key point. Over time, if a company, just keeping it very, very simple, if a company sells more stuff, that's it, more products, more services, whatever, if they sell more stuff, then the stock price almost always rises. I would actually say it always rises, but just to be a little bit safe, there could be some outliers in the past, whatever, where it didn't happen. If you zoom out and you look at like a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year chart, you're going to see if the company's selling more stuff, generating more revenue, if the company's selling more stuff and generating more profits over time, you're going to see the share price follow those metrics higher in the long term. Now, in the short term, anything can happen. And we're going to talk all about that as we move further along in this series when we start getting into active trading and options and maybe futures and whatever else. You're going to see on a day-to-day basis, man, it's pretty random. On a day-to-day basis, it is very, very unpredictable what is going to happen to a given stock or a given index or the market in general, what have you. And so understanding that in the long term, if I buy stock in a company and they do well and people want their stuff, I'm going to do well as an investor. That is the best way to think about individual stock investments. So that's why oftentimes I recommend people just getting started with stock investment. If you want to buy stock in a given company, buy stock in a company where you use the product. You use the service. Like it makes sense to you. Like if you're an iPhone user and you like using an iPhone, then buying stock in Apple, that makes a little bit of sense. Like if you drive a Tesla and you're like, this is the craziest technology ever, like this is so unbelievable, maybe buying stock in Tesla makes sense because what the company is doing, it's intuitive to you. You are a consumer and now you are an investor. That really just makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if I want to invest, I could invest in an individual stock. But that's not the only way that I could invest. Another way that I could invest, and a lot of investors prefer this way over individual stocks, you could invest in a broad market index. So some of the most popular ones would be SPY, that's the S&P 500. Those are going to be the 500 biggest companies in the United States. You can invest in QQQ, that's going to be the NASDAQ index. That's, I think, about a couple thousand pretty tech-heavy companies that are also US-based. Or you could invest in IWM, that's going to be the Russell 2000. So these are primarily small-cap stocks, so smaller companies that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of, but most companies begin as small companies, and then they become large companies that everybody has heard of. So you can invest directly into these indexes rather than going into an individual stock. And a lot of investors prefer this because they like the instant diversification. They like the fact that, hey, if I buy shares in SPY, then you could own one share of SPY, but you actually own a tiny little sliver of each of the 500 companies that are in SPY. And so by doing that, that could be really favorable. And a lot of investors look at that a lot more positively than owning an individual stock, because if I own an individual stock, then if something crazy happens with that individual stock, the CEO resigns or there's a product failure or whatever, then you're going to essentially be on the hook for that. Like that's going to show up in the stock price, and you may not necessarily love that situation. Of course, it goes the other way too. If something great happens to the individual stock, then you're also going to be able to take all the credit for all that greatness in that individual stock, which is harder to do at the index level. But a lot of investors like the instant diversification when it comes to 500 stocks in S&P 500, 2,000 stocks in the NASDAQ, however many stocks are in the Russell 2000. I'm actually not sure. I would assume it's around 2,000, but maybe not. Sometimes they trick you like that. So anyway, you can be instantly diversified at the index level. A lot of investors really, really like that. But in terms of making money, it's the same thing. You're going to make money one of two ways. You're going to make money through dividends. The indexes still pay out dividends. Or you're going to make money through the share price index on the actual index itself. So if the stock price of SPY goes up because the S&P 500 index is increasing, then you're going to make money. If I bought the S&P 500, the SPY index at $650 per share, and now it's $700, then I'm making money. If I bought the QQQ index at $550 per share, and now it's 600, then I'm making money, and so on and so forth. So it follows the same pattern as what we saw at the individual stock level. Now, here's another thing that's really interesting. Over time, this is very similar to the individual stock. There's a lot of parallels, but some key differences, of course. Over time, if the economy does well, indexes are almost always going to rise. Again, I use the almost term there just to be a little safe. But if you look historically, if you look at like US economic growth, and then you look at like the S&P 500, again, zoom out. Don't think in terms of months and quarters. Think in terms of years and decades. Like you're going to see a pretty positive correlation between US economic growth and the S&P 500 performance. Now, it's not going to be a perfect one-for-one mapping because sometimes the market does some crazy things. And again, in the short term, anything can happen. Like day to day, week to week, month to month, even quarter to quarter. Like, man, sometimes it can really be a head scratcher and throw you for a loop. But over time, if the economy does well, you can reasonably expect that your investments in these market indexes are also going to do well. And so if you are investing in the S&P 500, that's a bet on the U.S. economy. Like if you feel like, hey, over the next 1, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever, I feel very bullish about the U.S. economy. Bullish means I think it's going to go up. Bearish, of course, means I think it's going to go down. If I'm bullish and optimistic about the U.S. economy, then investing in something like SPY is one of the simplest ways to do that. It gives you broad market exposure in the S&P 500, and you're diversified, and you don't have the individual stock risk that you would have if you did Amazon, McDonald's, Tesla, NVIDIA, whatever it might be. Okay, so that is what is a stock in 13 minutes or less, right? That gives us a baseline to work from when it comes to investing and the basic level of investing at the individual stock level or the index level. But here's what's kind of interesting. If you think about an individual stock or think about an index, it doesn't matter. How are you going to make money in that investment? Again, you can make money from dividends, but not every company, not every stock pays dividends. So what if there are no dividends? How are you going to make money? The only way you're going to make money, literally, the only way you're going to make money is if the stock price increases. Now, again, over the long term, that's a pretty good bet and all those kinds of things. Of course, 100%. But in the short term, in the medium term, day to day, are there potentially other ways that you can make money? Could you potentially make money from ways that have nothing to do with the actual direction of the stock? That's kind of interesting. Could I potentially make money from just time passing? That's super interesting. Could I make money from maybe volatility changes in the marketplace that again have nothing to do with the directional exposure of the stock? Wow, Jim, now you've really got my attention. Well, here's what's super interesting about where we are headed in this series. And it takes as long as it takes. I don't know how long this is going to take. We're going to do new episodes every weekend. It might be a quarter. It might be a year. I don't know. It takes as long as it takes. What's going to be really fascinating is you guys are going to learn how you can position your portfolio using derivative products to make money without being right directionally. You're going to learn how to make money, and it has nothing to do with the direction of the stock. If you want to play the direction of the stock, I'm going to show you how to do that too. And there's really cool and unique ways that you can do that you simply cannot tap into when it comes to just straight stock at the individual level or the index level. Derivatives just give you so many different alternatives. They give you a lot of options, pun intended, for different ways to invest your portfolio and be active. So if you are wanting to take a more active approach in your portfolio, If you have had some exposure with the stock market, or maybe not, but you're like, man, I really want to be more active. I want to be more, financially literate. I want to understand the markets. I want to understand different things I could do. So I'm not necessarily beholden to the market increasing, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, what have you. Then you're in the right spot. This Where Do I Start series, we're going to go as long as it takes, and we're going to take you from absolutely nothing or knowing very little to getting to a spot where you feel comfortable placing your own trades, managing your own portfolio on your own. And I'm super excited, and I'll see you guys next week.